All right, to start another wrestling season, this is Kurt Russell with Everything Penn State blog, and today I'm talking to Tim Owen from Blue and White Illustrated. How you doing, Tim?
Pretty good, Kurt. How's everything going with you?
I'm doing good down here in Florida. I hear you guys just had some snow up there, a little early.
Yeah, for the football game, actually. Got somewhere up to 6-7 inches in some parts here in Pennsylvania, so it was fun. It's a little earlier than most people wanted it to happen, but it made for an eventful game, I'll tell you that much.
Cool. Well, that kind of signals it's the beginning of wrestling season. So, as we both know, Penn State won their first NCAA team title in 58 years, and
1953.
Right, and really, how many guys did they graduate from that team? Just basically Brad Bataki is going to be gone from graduation. On a side note, we know Andrew Long isn't there anymore, and yesterday was media day. Did Cale make any comment about what was happening with Andrew?
Yeah, he actually did, and that was one of the pressing topics going into his press conference yesterday. And actually, I was kind of surprised, but Cal was surprisingly open about Andrew's situation. He did stress the fact that his case is still pending, so he didn't want to comment too much on it. But he did say that he still is in contact with Andrew and Andrew's family. But he also said that he had no regrets of actually bringing Andrew in to join the team last year. It's just kind of how the events unfolded. One thing with Cal and Andrew, their relationship goes back a ways. Being back before high school, maybe even junior high, kind of a relationship that built up over time. So Cal kind of feels like he has to stand by him to a certain extent at this point. But like I said, the case is still pending with Andrew. He's definitely nowhere close to the team. He's definitely back in Iowa now. Not sure if he's enrolled in classes or not anywhere in Iowa, but he's away from the team here at Penn State. If he comes back again, if this case gets solved in his favor, if he ever comes back, that's a whole different story for another time. I don't see it happening at this point, but you never know.
So Cale didn't make any reference to any door open for Andrew if he gets legally clear and fixes some sort of any other problems at all?
He never specifically addressed that. Like I said, I don't see it happening just because there's a lot of criticism around this situation right now around Penn State. But it could happen, especially if he gets exonerated from all these charges. But Cal did make the mention that no matter what the court decides, Andrew did make some bad decisions, whether it be with alcohol or anything else of that sort. So he is paying a punishment for that, and whether he comes back in the future, that's really tough to decide at this point.
Yeah, I imagine so. Did Cale address any of the other kind of noise that was happening over this summer with Sam Sherlock? I know Volrath and Fisher and Eddie Ruth got into some trouble. Did he talk about that at all?
He addressed it to a certain point. You mentioned those guys. Pearsall also got a little bit of trouble this summer as well. He didn't make too much of a deal out of it, though. Sounds like Eddie's going to be starting right from the beginning. Kind of sounds like there's some miscommunication and confusion along Eddie's Eddie's case down there, and it sounds like Ed's going to be wrestling with the team right off the bat. Cal made mention that they've never had one problem with Ed before in the past, and so that kind of goes into his favor. Kept his nose clean before, kept his nose clean since, and I think he'll be with the team without any problems. Cal also didn't even mention anything about the other folks. He did say, though, Sherlock is in the mix at 141 with Brian Pearsall, and from the sounds of it, neither of them are really going to face any type of penalty, as of missing matches or anything. I'm sure they paid for it in the room. But it sounds like they're all ready to go, ready to start the season on Thursday night.
Yeah, paying for it in the room, that could be a lot more painful than any other kind of penalty, right? I don't know.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Especially for a guy like Cal Sanderson running the show, I'm sure they did pay for it.
Well, the few times I've had a chance to talk with Ed, he is just the most soft-spoken, laid-back cat, so it was really hard for me to imagine. And then I talked to some, guys who were close to the team, and they just told me, really what happened, and it just sounded like a big miscommunication, and everything kind of was blown out of proportion. So I'm good to hear that that's all sorted out for him.
That's along the lines of what I've been hearing, and just like you said, as a very across as a very soft-spoken, gentle guy, and obviously when he a different story with that armbar cradle or that cross-face cradle that he liked to use, but I was real surprised, taken back by those original accusations. But it does kind of sound like he's going to be all right going into this season.
Cool. So, from what I can take, what I've figured out so far, the big news yesterday was Andrew Alton is going to redshirt, and it's
that was big news that highlighted it all.
And it also sounds like Cale wasn't even going to really wait for Thursday night, with the intra-squad duel going on, that he had actually designated Dylan Alton to go at 157.
Yeah, it sounds like Dylan's going to be the guy. From the sounds of talk, from what Cale said, and then from what I've talked to, some of the other wrestlers yesterday, it sounds like Dylan is handling the competition at 157. And Anchor, there's a lot of competition there this year. It looks like Dylan's going to face off against Dirk Colburn Thursday night in the intra-squad match, and Dirk was an outstanding wrestler in high school. And then you also have James Volrath and English. English won freestyle nationals this year, so you have a lot of depth at 57. Quite surprising that Alton already has separated himself. I mean, I guess it's not too surprising given the credentials he had coming into Penn State, but it's quite an accomplishment just to get the starting spot at 157 this year with that depth.
Yeah, I kind of expected it to be a much more drawn-out affair, and maybe not even decided until well after Thursday. So it's kind of a surprising news, though I've been getting reports from the room that Dylan had been kind of separating himself, and that James English had a neck injury that was kind of stopping him from competing. So
yeah, English is still struggling with that injury, and I don't know how much he's actually been able to wrestle off, if at all. But yeah, it does look like it's going to be Dylan Alton and Dirk Coburn wrestle off Thursday night for the 157 spot.
So who's going to be wrestling at 125 besides? Is it going to be Nico and Jordan Conway or anybody else?
That's what it sounds like it's going to be Thursday night for the intra-squad match, but really this is Nico's weight class, and he's got big plans for this year and for his whole career at that. Nico's a good kid, and Nico's a competitor, and he could have a big year this year. And I think he's going to wrestle off with Conway, and Conway's also got quite a talent they brought in this year. I think this is Nico's weight class from here on out.
Okay. Did they say they were going to redshirt Nate Morgan?
That actually wasn't addressed. I'd assume so. 145 is another weight class. They're just loaded in with Conway. Michael Waters that they brought up from North Carolina, he could even fit in there. They're pretty loaded there. I think I would assume Morgan would get a red shirt this year, but I can't tell you for sure. I was actually surprised that he did a red shirt last year, but under certain circumstances they needed him on the mat. But I think it's going to be a Megaludis' weight class, and if they need someone to come in, I bet it's either going to be Connolly, but maybe Morgan.
Well, I know that Nate broke his leg in a car accident last year, so I know he just, hadn't been available, so I figured they were going to redshirt him.
Yeah, he looked to be moving fine yesterday, running around.
Oh, good.
But I bet he redshirts.
All right, at 133, do we know whether Frank Martellotti is going to be eligible this semester or not? Are they still kind of keeping mum on that, or what's the deal?
Actually, they honestly don't know yet. They're hoping to find out this week. Martellotti is eligible by NCAA and Big Ten standards, but as we all know, Penn State does have a little bit more strict standards there. So Cal said he's waiting to hear, hopefully Martellotti is the favorite if he is eligible. He's beat Reber 3-2 in the room right now. But Reber says it's been close, and that's another match to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I've been actually hearing from a lot of guys close to the team that Frank is vastly improved this year. I mean, he was good last year. He was actually 18-3 before he became ineligible. But I've been hearing that he's just become a real hammer on top. So.
No, yeah, Frank's a real talent. I actually think his performance went a little bit under the radar last year, even though he did get 18 wins in just that first half of the season. He's real tough to score on if you watch him, and like you said, he's improving on top. He's gonna be a solid 1-3 pounder if he can get these grades in line. Cal says he's improving greatly since last year at this time. They're just still waiting on some summer grades. Waiting to see if Penn State's gonna, approve those grades so he can go ahead and wrestle. And like I said, they're hoping to find out by this week. That's right, by the Bloomsburg match.
Okay. Well, most people, if they don't know by now, Derek Reber, who was PIAA champion and was at Bucknell, actually his freshman year, he qualified for nationals. He transferred to Penn State. So if there's any problem with Martellotti's grades, we'll have Reber to back up, and I think he'll fit the bill while Frank's out.
Yeah, Derek's a solid wrestler. And Derek, I mean, like I said, Derek could end up taking this position straight out from Martellotti, even though it seems unlikely at this point. It is still a possibility, depending on Thursday night's match. And I followed Derek since he was in high school when he wrestled for Lewisburg, and he's quite a talent. He knows how to score some points. He knows how to pin some people. The biggest challenge for him, though, is when he was at Bucknell, he was a strict 125-pounder. He comes in here now, redshirt junior year, and he's going to be relied on at 133, and he might be relied on as the only starter here the first half of the season, depending on Martellotti's academic issues. But Reber's not a guy you want to overlook. He could score some points for Penn State this year. He said he has goals to be an All-American this year, so if you ask him, he thinks he's going to be starting 133 in the Bloomsburg match.
That's the viewpoint you got to have, especially in that room right there.
Oh, yeah. It's a dog-eat-dog wrestling room in there right now, and everyone's buying spots.
Well, I've been telling people when I found out Derek was transferring that they were going to be happy that he was there, that I kind of had just this premonition that in the winter at least he was going to pull out some wins that Penn State needed or maybe just didn't expect. So good luck to both those guys.
Yeah, he's definitely not one to overlook, that's for sure.
So 141, that actually seems to be by now actually the biggest question mark and the biggest battle going into Thursday night. So I guess Sherlock and Pearsall are going to face head-to-head Thursday night?
Yeah, that's for all indications saying that, and that has the most implications going forward, that match at 141. Sherlock's, a lot of people think this is Sherlock's weight class. I'm not going to say that because Pearsall really came on last year before Andrew Long transferred in. Pearsall was really starting to improve. I think he beat 2, maybe 3 ranked wrestlers. Really starting to improve. Pearsall wasn't the biggest recruit from out of high school, but he's really speaking to Cal's coaching and the coaching staff's technique, and he's really improving. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's at 141 for the Bloomsburg match. Now that said, Sam Sherlock is a very good talent. He was a little overshadowed by Andrew and Dylan Alton in that recruiting class, but Sherlock was ranked, I believe, top 100 by Intermat and was the real deal coming out of high school as well. So haven't gotten to see him wrestle much live after his red shirt year and all that, but he could score some big points at 141. If Pearsall is able to knock Sherlock off, there's going to be that Pearsall could be a pretty solid option for him too, especially if he's kept improving on where he left off last year before Andrew Long came in.
Well, I actually heard that Sherlock, they did wrestle off twice. Sherlock beat him once, and then the second time Sherlock was winning when Brian turned the tables and pinned him.
Okay, yeah, we didn't address that match yesterday at the press conference, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So I think that's what's going to come down to Thursday. So be real exciting to see what happens there. 149, we already know that's Frank. I don't know. Is he going to wrestle on Thursday? He's going to wrestle maybe Seth Bates or somebody else?
Yeah, I'm not real sure. Frank wasn't even real sure what the whole plan is. I would assume he wrestles because Frank said he's feeling real healthy. He took the summer off for the most part to really get back his health. He struggled with an ankle injury at the beginning of last year, and then just the normal bumps and bruises you get from the grind of the season. So he said he's feeling as healthy as he has ever felt. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him out there Thursday night. And against who, we'll have to see. Whether it's bites or maybe they even bring Fisher down to wrestle with him because he was working out with Fisher yesterday at practice. But we'll have to see on that. But either way, it's Frank's position or Frank's spot to take control of this year. He's ranked number 1 in the country by basically everyone out there, and he's driven this year. He that loss to Kyle Dake in the NCAA finals last year has really weighed heavily on him, and with Dake now up to 157 from Cornell, this is Molinaro's weight class to win, and I think he knows that. I think the team knows that. I think a lot of the country knows this Molinaro's weight class to win or lose for that matter. But he's driven.
Yeah, especially with Jason Chamberlain from Boise State taking a redshirt year, pretty much. I'm sure some other guys who are still going to be challenging him, like Jamal Parks from Oklahoma State, but a lot of his biggest competition kind of stepped aside there, and I'm sure Frank feels like anything less than an NCAA championship might be disappointing to him.
Oh yeah, and that's for sure. That's for sure.
All right, 157 we touched upon. 165, that's actually one of the other bigger off-season news was David Taylor going to bump up, and it looks like he is going to be at 165.
Yeah, that's for sure. You can definitely tell David's grown. He might put up like an inch or two on his height. He's definitely put 10, 15 pounds on. Cal even said this off-season when Cal was training for the Olympics or the World Trials, that David was actually weighing up around 185 pounds and working out with all the 84-kilo guys and holding his own. So David knows how to compete at any level or any weight class. For him, this is his weight class to win, just like his small and narrow of 149. I don't really see anyone there that is going to be able to beat David. If David loses this year, it's going to be a major upset. I think 165 is going to be a good fit for him. But he also told me yesterday that he's still growing, and he doesn't think he'll be at 165 much more than a year or two. How that fits out, the rest of the roster is still yet to be seen, but I wouldn't be surprised if David graduates as a 174-pounder.
Well, I'd heard too that he had been at 185 over the summer, and I actually had somebody tell me that Matt Brown was a real surprise in the room, was holding his own pretty well against David, and the staff was trying to figure out how they could get him on the mat next year. So I actually had somebody close to the team tell me that David would be at 174, Ed would go to 184, Quentin would go to 197, Morgan would redshirt, and they would get Matt Brown in at 165. So, we'll see what happens over the course of the year there. But, it definitely looks like 65 is David's to lose, especially if we look at Andrew Howe from Wisconsin taking an Olympic redshirt. Jordan Burroughs, he graduated, and Tyler Caldwell from Oklahoma, the other finalist, he also is taking a redshirt year.
Yeah, with Caldwell and Howe out there, this is definitely David's weight class this year. And like I said, if anyone beats him, anywhere along the line, it's going to even in the NCAA finals, it's going to be a major upset. I would have liked to see a David Taylor-Andrew Howe match, though, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, that would be really, really exciting to watch. 174, Ed Ruth, I've been actually out in the message boards. I've been kind of quietly trying to promote Ed. He's already ranked third. A lot of people think he'll actually win, but I actually think by the end of the year, when people are going to be discussing who wins the Hodge Trophy, which has to do with the most dominated, undefeated champion performance, I think Ed's name is going to be in the ring more than people expect right now.
Oh yeah, that's certainly not far-fetched from my perspective. I think Eddie could have easily contended for the championship last year because he would have held up a little bit better. That's one thing Cal touched on yesterday. Eddie did have surgery to clean up some cartilage around his knee following the NCAA championships last year. Now he's back. He took the summer off, and Cal said that really helped Eddie out with just kind of getting away from the mat for a little while. That's the kind of kid that doesn't need to wrestle all the time. Cal said so. He's fresh right now, feeling good, feeling healthy, and like you said, he's as good a wrestler as anyone in the room, let alone as anyone in the country. And I think he's going to be able to do big things this year, especially if he can stay healthy. Like I mentioned earlier, that cross-face cradle that he goes after is something a lot of people can't defend, no matter if they even know it's coming, because Eddie's got strength behind him that you don't often see a kid his size, but he knows how to use it and how to make it work for him. So he could have a big year. Hodge Trophy, we'll have to see. He's got some competition there, but if that's not in the NCAA finals this year, I'll be surprised. That's for sure.
Who did Cale say those guys are going to be wrestling on Thursday? David and Ed. They going to be wrestling like Matt Brown or David Krul or?
From the sounds of it, David. They didn't get into specifics of who's going to be wrestling who, but from the sounds of it, David will probably wrestle Brown. I'm not quite sure who Ed will wrestle. Ed wasn't at media day yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to talk with him. But he could have a couple different guys there. But I mean, like it's Ed's match, sure. It's Ed's weight class. That's no doubt.
Alrighty, and 184, we got NCAA champion Quentin Wright returning. Obviously, nobody's going to probably be challenging him then, but I mean, who's going to be anybody wrestling him Thursday night?
You might see, Andrew Church coming out there, maybe Dustin Ortega. I think one of those two guys, maybe even Church and Ortega might even wrestle, and Quentin might not even come out Thursday. We'll have to see about that. Like I said, they didn't really get into too many specifics about their big guns in the squad match. The big storyline about Quentin this year is everyone he beat last year in the NCAA title, or NCAA tournament, is coming back this year at 184, and they're all ranked in the top 10 except Johnny Fossey for Virginia, and Fossey could be in the top 10 by the time we get to the NCAA tournament. But you have Robert Hamlin, who Quentin beat in the finals, as we all know. He's ranked number 2 right behind Quentin. Then you have Iowa's Gambrell ranked number 3, Cornell's Bozak at 4, and then you have Honeycutt from Edinburgh, who was first seed at 184 last year. Now it sounds like he's going up to 197, but either way, 184 is a stacked weight class this year, and it's going to be quite the task for Quentin to repeat. Definitely not saying he's not going to be able to, but he's going to have quite a load on his shoulders, and it looks like this might be one of the strongest weight classes in the country going on.
Oh, without a doubt, it's definitely the deepest, and you throw Joe LeBlanc from Wyoming in there, who, for whatever reason, he failed to make weight. He was expected to he was ranked number 1 for quite a lot of last year, so throw him into the mix. Kevin Steinhaus from Minnesota as well, who actually majored Quentin earlier in the year before he avenged that loss 2 times. So, yeah, that weight's definitely stacked. Any word on how Quentin's shoulder seems to be doing? Is he having any more problems with that, or does it seem to be all healed up?
I met with Quentin back, I think it was right at the beginning of September. I did a story for Counting Down magazine on Quentin, and he said the shoulders is fine. He started feeling 100% healthy right at the end of last year, right before the Big Ten tournament. He just suffered a separated shoulder at the Line Open last year, and that's a difficult injury to wrestle with. But if you give it the proper rest, it can be a quick heal. If it's not too bad, of course, which Quentin
Well, I do remember hearing Quentin saying that he wanted to become Penn State's first three-time NCAA champion. So I think he's more than capable of doing that.
Yeah, that's definitely his goal, and a lot of guys on the team too. He might become the first, but Eddie and David Taylor is probably going to be right behind them, and we'll see. But he's about that goal, and if he can get past Hamlin again, right at the beginning, because he faced Hamlin right at the beginning of the year when they go travel to Lehigh. If he gets off on a good start, he could really gain some momentum going into the postseason, make another run at this thing.
Great. So last year we had a whole bunch of all-star freshmen hit the team. This year, those positions are all filled, but this year we've got Nico at 125, and then at 197, the guy actually I think people have been just dying to see is Morgan McIntosh, because I don't know about what you've seen or heard, but the reports I'm getting is that he's just tearing it up in the room and impressing just the hell out of everybody.
Yeah, Morgan is a very unique college wrestler. Cal said it yesterday. He's not your typical freshman, and that's true because you don't see it too often where a true freshman comes right out of high school at an upper weight at that and starts competing and even beating some of your top competition in the room. And I'm hearing that Morgan wrestles right along with Quentin. Not saying that he can beat Quentin yet, but they're good workout partners because Quentin said steel sharpens steel. So they're definitely helping each other out. But I'm excited to see Morgan. I haven't seen him wrestle personally, but thanks to the guys at Full Wrestling, they have a bunch of videos on Morgan McIntosh that I've been able to get a good grasp of this kid's wrestling style, and he's going to be tough to beat this year, and especially given 197 isn't the deepest of weight classes. If he can get past Simons from Cornell or Yon from Minnesota or even Byers nowadays, Oklahoma State, those are his main competition this year. If he can get by those guys, don't be surprised seeing Morgan McIntosh if you don't see him in the NCAA championships this year. He has that kind of ability, and like I said, at 197, it's very rare to see a true freshman have that kind of potential, but he stays healthy and he wrestles up his potential. He feels comfortable at Penn State. I think this kid could be All-American for sure, and like I said, don't be surprised if you see him in the finals come March.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't realize 197 is, if you actually look at the history of the amount of freshman All-Americans that have wrestled, 197 is actually the weight class that has the lowest amount. So for Morgan to step in here, the odds are kind of stacked against him, but it sounded like he's not only up to the challenge, but I've been hearing he's been actually even wrestling not even guys on the team, but guys over the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, and taking on some of the bigger guys like Les Sigmund and guys like that, and holding his own for pretty impressive for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, that's for sure. And if he can hold his own against Big Les, then he can hold his own probably against anyone. He's not going to see anyone that size, but he's going to have a big year. Just from looking at the kid, you can tell he's born to be a wrestler. He fits the wrestler, cut out. And he had just an outstanding high school career, one of those high school careers that you just don't see come along too often. And he competed wonderfully at high school, but even at the freestyle tournaments and then the Fargo Nationals, or just the big national tournaments, he continued to dominate. Even when he was in high school, I think it was his junior year, he actually beat Ed Ruth in a tournament, in a consolation tournament.
Yeah, he did.
A pair of matches that tournament.
They split a pair of matches in that tournament.
Yeah, they split. Morgan lost the first one. He came back in consolation to beat Ed, where I've heard Ed wasn't really on his game for that match, but still that speaks volumes for a junior high school to come and knock off a top-ranked freshman like Ed Ruth. Even though Ed was on it wrestling unattached that year, he was still Ed Ruth, still had the high school credentials that Ed Ruth did. So that speaks volumes about Morgan McIntosh's ability, and he's only improved since the 2 years since that match. And like I said, 197. It's got some tough guys up on top, but
Yeah, agreed. So at 285, I heard that Cam was on crutches there for a while, but he came off of them relatively quickly, and he's back in the room. And then, has he been able to wrestle?
Yeah. Cam's actually been wrestling live since the summer. He had surgery as well after the NCAA finals or NCAA championships. He hurt his knee with a slight head hit. Cam sounded to be maybe a little bit worse. He had surgery. He took some rest. But he said he was wrestling live by the middle of the summer, and then he wasn't going too heavy, of course. And then by the time wrestling season started a couple weeks ago, the actual season at Penn State, he was ready to go full board. I talked to Cam a little bit yesterday, and you kind of feel for the kid because he's a two-time national qualifier, has been one of the top heavyweights in the country since he's stepped on the mat. But he just hasn't been able to quite get into that All-America status. Last year, the knee injury kind of gave him a setback. So this year, Cam's really focusing on his consistency, going out every match to, wrestle the same Cameron Wade each match. And he really wants to get an All-America honor, even a national title. He told me yesterday that he's been having trouble sleeping even because he just sees how close the All-America has been in the last 2 years.
Well, the guy's ranked number 1 in the country now. Zach Ray from Lehigh. He actually beat Ray a couple years ago in a freestyle match. So he's more than capable of beating some of the top-ranked guys.
Yeah, he beat Ray in freestyle. It kind of goes towards Wade's style, not more so towards Ray's style. Because Ray, if you ever watch him, he likes to win matches by 1 point here, 2 points there. He likes to stand on his feet and push around for a little bit. Well, Cameron, I feel, is most successful when he actually wrestles and when he gets on top and rides out and goes for the beat down here, goes for a takedown there. I think that's Cameron's style. So even though I think Ray is a very tough competition, I think Cameron will have one of his better years of his career. Because he's winding down. This is his last year to do it, and he knows that, so he wants to get All-America status this year.
And since this is Cam's last year, I was just curious if you had a chance to see any of the kids who are backing him up. I know Nick Regier is going up. There's John Gingrich, and then a new kid, Colin Campbell, who actually I think was... he actually got to the finals of the Super 32 last year and got disqualified, but I also know that he was at National High School Freestyle Championships and did quite well in those. So have you had a chance to see any of those kids wrestle?
I had seen Colin. I've seen a couple of his matches from high school. I saw that, a couple from his Super 32. As far as Regier, I don't think he's going to be big enough to go. He'll be 5 this year, and sounds like if anything were to happen to Wade where he isn't able to go, I think Gingrich would be the next guy. But Campbell might be in there too. Campbell, he probably has. He could be Wade's replacement next year, but I just don't think he'll be on the map this year at all. But really, if Wade isn't able to go, say his knee starts hurting him again, or heavyweight might be the least deep class that Penn State has on its roster. So they really need Wade to stay healthy this year and score some points for him, because after Wade, they're pretty thin at heavyweight.
All right. So Penn State was national champs last year as a team. They tied for actually won the Big Tens, and they finished second in the dual season there. They actually have Minnesota coming up here quickly, along as Lehigh and Bloomsburg, so actually a challenging beginning of the dual season. But I was just looking at discussing a lot in the boards, the amount of points Penn State is maybe losing in terms of Alton, Andrew Long, Brad Bataki. But I think they have more than enough potential to actually reclaim those points with guys like Dylan and Frank and Nico back in there and Morgan, that they could actually score more points than they did this past year to win the title.
No, I agree. On paper, this team is better than they were last year. You figure David's at 65 now. There's no points last year, 65, and then Dylan presumably, will be at 57. You got to expect him. He can score a couple points in the tournament. 125. I mean, Patek was a great wrestler. He's done great things for this program. But Megaludis is as real as they come. Lost one match in high school. So they're relying on him heavily to score points. If they all do that, this team can, on paper, like I said, is better than they were last year. Now, the kicker here, Kurt, is the Big Ten has only gotten bigger and better. With the addition of Nebraska, Iowa is stacked this year. They're young. They could pose another threat come in March. And then even Oklahoma State down there, they're loaded this year with Cal Byers on the team now. Jordan Oliver is just an animal at 133. I don't know if he's going 141 for sure yet or not. But they're better on paper. My point is everyone around them is also a lot better. So it's going to be exciting to see. It's going to be, starting right at the dual meet season when Minnesota comes into town and starts Big Ten, all the way to St. Louis in March. It's going to be exciting. And, Penn State can do it again, but I think it's even going to be more difficult this year than it was last year, given the quality of competition that surrounds them.
Yeah, well, Iowa had the number one recruiting class, I think, 2 years ago, and they redshirted them, and a lot of those guys, just like Penn State had a lot of top freshmen in their lineup last year, Iowa's expecting a lot out of new guys coming in there. And I know Oklahoma State, they probably have the capability of getting 10 All-Americans in their lineup there. And Minnesota also is reloading. I know Dylan Ness, Jason, who is a champ at 33, his little brother is coming off a red shirt, and they've got a couple other good recruits coming in there. So, yeah, it's going to be, even though they look better on paper this year, it's probably going to be more difficult than it was last year to win another title.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've been telling a lot of people that, been asking me if Penn State has, are they going to repeat this year? Are they going to win out for the next couple of years? Because it kind of looked like it could have been that way last year with how young their team was. But, I warn everyone, be careful. The Big Ten is just as young, if not younger. Ohio State is bringing in some great recruits. Michigan, great recruits. Nebraska's always been a solid wrestling program. So the Big Ten to the gauntlet, and then let alone get out to the national level. They're gonna have a tough road ahead of them. But there's gonna be some great wrestling along the road. So it'll be a fun season to watch.
Great. So Tim, you write for Blue and White Illustrated. So are you going to have articles or a blog, or just what are you going to be posting on there online?
Yeah, I'll be on our message boards all the time. I work primarily for Blue and White Illustrated. We have the wrestling message board as long as our premium message board and the Lions Den. I'll have stories going up after every match, especially home matches, and we'll also do some coverage throughout the week, whether it's an actual story or we'll just have a post up in our message board after practices. But right now we have a full news and notes section on the front page from yesterday's media day, breaking down everything from Andrew Long down to Andrew Alton's red shirt. There, I also posted a photo gallery this morning from yesterday's action. Got a couple 18 pictures on there of Cal and the wrestlers working out a little bit. But it's going to be a big season. We got big plans for the coverage because the fans are coming out in numbers now. This team is becoming pretty legitimate. They sold out the Iowa match in less than 90 minutes. I think Minnesota sold out the other day, and they're on pace to sell out every single match this year. So they're getting quite the following. It's going to be quite a fun time.
Great. And what's your website address?
You can go to bwi.rivals.com, or you can also go to bluewhiteillustrated.com. They'll bring you to the same website. We're also in the middle of football season right now, so we have a lot of football coverage going on. And basketball media day, it actually started today. I know wrestling fans don't only talk about basketball, but
that's right. You don't talk about basketball.
But we have some coverage on there too. So I'll be doing the wrestling, and it'll be up there every week. So
Good. So this sounds like this could be you're going to be going to media day at least every week. So we'll be talking every week and posting this on my blog and on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, sounds like a plan, Kurt. Cal usually opens up the wrestling room once a week, where you go in and check out the week's matchups, check on the health of everyone, see how everyone's doing. So, yeah, right. We'll provide updates accordingly.
Great. All right, Tim, that sounds great, and I guess we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Kurt, sounds good. Thanks a lot for having me on.
No problem.